Hello everybody, and welcome to News and Views for January the 23rd, 2025. We are just on the final day of Ag Days right now out in Brandon, and we have a correspondent out there, so we expect coming up in the next week or two, you'll see all that Ag Days had to offer here on the station. As well, we have taken this bitterly cold part of our winter and done a lot of studio interviewing. So you may have seen a couple of those already in the schedule. Plenty more to come in the next few weeks. On the show today, though, we have three different items. First of all, Clemente Mayor, who is an artist from Carberry, who does a lot of work in Neepawa with art programs, with art teaching, has a solo exhibition up in Dauphin. So we were able to get a bit of that to show you here on the show today. As well, we have a part of a hands-on nutrition program with Amanda Rolls. These have been running for a little while, and they really focus on achievable goals and using local sources, and plus alternatives to make these nutritional snacks, meals attractive to all generations, from children to seniors. So we have a bit of that on the show today. And then we have Leeway, who will go into more depth on that in a future program. And finally, we have a little clip of an interview we did just this past week. This is with Jeff Braun, who is the Senior Development Officer with our planning district. Had a great long conversation with him about all things planning, how they work, what they mean for the individual. So we have a little clip of that on the show today and plenty more of that to come again in the next couple of weeks. Now, if you have anything going on, any program ideas for us, anything you think is interesting that you'd love to see on the station, get in touch. You can reach us at 204-476-2639 or by email nactv@wcgwave.ca. Thanks and enjoy the show.
He was working at the one hotel, we put posters up at it, and he was remarking on your name,
yes,
which is not necessarily...
It's very intriguing, and if you were born here, you did that word, and it's a curse name, and it's so bad. Even my mom doesn't like it, but it's, I usually, yeah, and it's just my first name, and just like to attack people. It is. The one who told you he's right.
Okay.
So did he or she say a bad word?
Well, it wasn't me actually he was talking to. He was talking to one of my other board members,
Yeah.
the other board member,
Yeah.
who was putting up posters, and so he did tell her what it was, but I don't remember what she said. So.
It's the... Simula ako nito magpinta. Natigil ako magpinta dahil puro trabaho at bar. Ito ko yung naisip na subject.
Wow!
So,
Pandemic, ano po pala ito?
So, kumukuha ko ng idea lagi sa panonood ko ng movies. Sa movies ako lagi kumukuha ng ideas. So, yung mga sina Clint Eastwood, Magnificent Seven. Ito naman na study sa mural na ginawa ko sa Caribbean. Isang restaurant doon. May isang malaking restaurant doon na nagpapinta sa akin ng kader. So, study lang ito. Ito may maliliit. Ito naman, mahilig akong gumamit ng boxer. So those are cardboard boxes that neglected.
That's amazing.
So, being an artist is, if you don't have any money, it's hard to survive here. Especially if it's not. Most of the artworks this one is only one stencil. I spray and then move to, and then spray and then move.
That must take a couple hours.
Yes, because you need to dry one at a time. Same as this.
All the things I'm going to go over today. So, phytonutrients can be divided in different ways. They are what give plants their smell, their color, their taste. They influence kind of how the plant looks. They also affect our bodies in different ways. One of the ways that they act is as an antioxidant. So we're going to also talk a little bit about antioxidants in the body today. While there are no daily recommendations, which I've mentioned, I believe someday there will be. Some of these nutrients are more bioavailable to the body, so the body's able to really absorb them well. Some are a little bit more locked away, so that if you eat something like a healthy fat, so we poured a little bit of oil on the kale, that'll make some of those vitamins more available to our bodies. And especially if you're having a healthy fat like an avocado oil on there, you don't have to worry so much. Good fats are really helpful at getting rid of bad fat in the body. So those kind of things, as long as within moderation, and you know, we talked about the 2 thumb size kind of per meal. That's a great ratio. Helps you get the nutrients, but it's not too much for your body, and it's actually better for absorption of some of these vitamins. So we absorb these nutrients. Most of the benefits, excuse me, come from their ability to protect and bring our gut into balance. And this can result in helping balance our hormones, our metabolic health. Okay, so one thing about these phytonutrients is a plant's job is to have a defense mechanism against bugs and pollutants and things like that. So when a plant needs to protect itself from an environment, in even like the sun, bug bites, phytonutrients act as a defense mechanism for the plant. This gives it the ability to protect itself, and in turn, when we eat the plants, then we get those protective benefits as well. So we want the plant to be defending itself so that we can get those defense mechanisms for us. When we buy food that is genetically modified to resist bug bites, then the plant will not produce as much phytonutrients. So we just don't get as much of a high return on our investment. I still encourage buying them. I still buy them, but just to know that if you wanted to get the absolute most organic, or this is where you take advantage of your own home garden, where you're not, putting all the pesticides on there, and it's going to get a little bit of natural bug bites, and it's going to produce more phytonutrients for you, and they're going to be fresher, and you're going to get the best advantage out of those foods for you. And the same like farmers markets, right? You get a lot of those extra fresh benefits from those things. Fruits tend to have larger, poorly absorbed phytonutrients, but good for the gut. Vegetables tend to be smaller and absorb better and are more active inside our bodies, like inside, not counting the intestinal tract. So I'll go over a couple of my favorites first, and then we'll explain the rest of the sheets. So the first one I have isolated. There's quite a few phytonutrients, and scientists are still finding more, and there's some that are really well studied and some that are not as well studied. I'll show you my quick sheet. Is if you were to look at phytonutrients, they kind of fall under different categories. Some are more connected to make how the plant smells, some are more to how the plant looks and color, and then they divide into different groups having different benefits. So I just picked my 4 favorites because there's so many to go through, and some are more well studied as well. So the first one, quercetin. You may have heard that word before. You can actually buy it as a supplement. I always feel it's going to work better as a whole food in the body versus a supplement, but sometimes periodically supplements can be helpful for short-term things. It's best known as a supplement for like allergies and things like that. Seasonal allergies tends to be like an antihistamine, but you can find them in things like apples. So many foods have quercetin in them. We're going to try jicama today, has quercetin in it. It's one of the most studied phytonutrients. It works as an antioxidant, anti-carcinogenic, anti-inflammatory, antiviral activities. Found the highest doses in red, green, and purple foods like apples, which I'm going to say like the skin is going to have more higher doses there. Blueberries, red onion, green tea, herbs, cocoa, capers, whole grains, beans, and there's many others, but those are just slightly higher doses than those guys. Known to be helpful with allergies. Generally tested as safe if you're taking it up to 12 weeks, which could get you over the spring or fall allergy season. But of course, always check with your doctor before taking something new in case it counteracts something else you're taking, or if you're taking another antihistamine, you might be taking too much because it can act similar. If you consume it with bromelain, which is found in pineapple, it tends to expand those benefits. So if you had a fruit salad and you've got apples in there and blueberries in there and you add a little bit of pineapple, you've now increased the benefits of quercetin in those in that food. And Dr. Axe has a lot of information about that, and I've got that on here too, if you're wanting to look more into that. The next phytonutrient is cellophane. It's one of my favorites. It's very cool and very beneficial to the body. This one and the next few ones I'm going to talk about are a little bit more specific to, they are in more than one food, but they have a couple foods where they just are so concentrated and they're so helpful to the body that I will mention those as the superstars of these phytonutrients. So, cellophane, known for helping the liver, increase its detoxing effects. So just really, really good for you. The main source is broccoli and cruciferous vegetables. So we're gonna have kale chips today, and that will be one of the sources not as high as broccoli, but on the higher end. So cellophane has also been shown to target breast cancer cells, and also decreasing the mortality rate in bladder cancer. It's good for brain health, protective for your eyesight, and it's an antioxidant, which is one of the reasons it's so protective in all those areas. The number one source is broccoli, and it's even more concentrated in broccoli sprouts. If you have 1 ounce of broccoli sprouts, it's equivalent of eating a whole cup of broccoli as far as cellophane counts. In a cup of broccoli, you might have higher levels of other vitamins and nutrients, but the cellophane, kind of once it gets going, it doesn't really keep growing with the broccoli, it just stays at that same amount. So the broccoli sprouts just give you a much higher concentrated dose.
Can you buy broccoli sprouts?
You can. I don't know if I've seen broccoli on their own. I know I've seen sprouts show up in Safeway and Co-op. They are pricey, but I mean, if you're gonna have them here and there, they're like excellent for your health. And then the variety is great because you're getting all the sprouted benefits of all the sprouts. You can make them fairly easily in about 3 to 5 days. And the cellophane, they're saying, is highest, I think, on day 2 or 3, but I usually wait till day 5, just so there's more to it to eat. And they can be put on anything, salads and soups and sandwiches and pretty much anything you're gonna have. The second highest source after broccoli would be kohlrabi, and cauliflower as third. So this is the interesting part with these foods. They don't officially contain cellophane to start with. What they contain are an enzyme and, let's see, glucosinate. And basically what happens is they're isolated in the plant in separate little pods. And it's another defense mechanism, so that it's meant that when an animal or person bites into this, they get that, oh, that tastes gross, I don't want to eat this plant, defense mechanism, because those two things mix when it's bit and create cellophane. And that's where you get like, oh, broccoli is the worst tasting thing ever. But the plants didn't realize we were going to have all these fun seasonings to add, and lemon to add, and salt and pepper, and all of a sudden, those flavors become really yummy, and they're really good for you. And so, if you're chewing raw broccoli, you're going to create that cellophane. If you're cooking it right away, it doesn't have a chance to make as much. It might make a little bit, but not as much. So Dr. Greger has invented, coined the phrase, the hack and hold method, and that is to chop the broccoli up, or kale, or what you're gonna have, and let it sit for 40 minutes. You could do this the night before, because you might not just have that time at that day to sit and wait for 40 minutes for the cellophane to make it up. But if you wait that 40 minutes, it will make it, and then you can cook it, and it won't be destroyed by cooking. So the other option is, let's say you don't have time, you've chopped up the broccoli, you've cooked it right away, it didn't really have time to make cellophane, only the enzyme is destroyed, and you can actually get that from things like mustard powder. So if you like to cook with mustard powder and you add that after it's cooked, it will then have time to make cellophane and still give you those really great benefits. It's kind of similar, you think of like a glow stick, you know when you crack a glow stick and then it lights up, you release the chemicals so they interact and then they have an explosion of light. So it's the same idea with the cellophane. Once the two things meet, magic happens, it makes cellophane so good for you. Okay. Also our guts have a little bit of that enzyme as well. Not as much as the broccoli itself. So if you just cooked it and you just didn't have time and you don't have mustard powder, you are still going to make some and you do still get some of those benefits, just not as high of a ratio. I think it's like 1/10 of the ratio versus if you were just chewing raw broccoli or letting it sit. I'm talking a lot about antioxidants today, and I just wanted to clarify kind of how they work and what they are. And so many vitamins and minerals act like antioxidants, just like our phytonutrients do. So I have a quick picture here, and again, this one I can print out for you guys. An antioxidant has extra electrolytes. Sorry, electrons. Extra electrons. And basically, there's all these free radicals in our body that are damaged, and they're flying around, wreaking havoc. They're flying around, wreaking havoc. And these antioxidants come in with all these extra electrons, and they just share them to calm these free radicals down and help remove them from the body. But antioxidants work as a team. They don't work like a singular one. So if you took a whole bunch of vitamin C, it would not actually help. It would help a little bit, but then it would become harmful because it's basically antioxidants like to play a game of hot potato, and they can't play hot potato by themselves. So they need other antioxidants here and there, and then they kind of pass these free radicals around and jump them around until they can get them out of the body safely. So when you have this mix of fruits and vegetables and whole grains and beans and all these different places with all these different phytonutrients and antioxidant activity, you're going to just give your body the best chance and make it the easiest possible way for it to get all this stuff out of the body that you don't want. One way to measure antioxidant levels is something called the ORAC chart. You can look it up. Every plant has pretty much been given an ORAC kind of number. And it's when they test a plant, they can tell how much antioxidant activity is in that plant. And some things rank really high, some rank a little lower. I just have a quick list here I can show you guys after. And I don't know if this one's on your paper, is it? Awesome, perfect. So this is just a quick snapshot of a few things. A lot of spices rank really, really high, but also you have to think you're only using a tiny amount. So they rank really high, but a tiny amount, but still very much worth it to spice up every dish that you're making. And then obviously the higher, the better as far as antioxidant value. It's just a good idea to try to get some of those superstars in there. That's why berries are always talked about so much as being so important, because they tend to be so much higher. Clove is actually one of the highest ranking things you can have. We don't usually tend to cook with it a lot in a lot of dishes, but if you do have some favorite things that you like clove in, it's a superstar ranking one. It's much higher than even the highest one on this. And then to date, the highest thing I have come across for antioxidant value is something called dragon's blood. It comes from something called the dragon tree. It's like a sap, and people take it like a supplement. Hard to find in Canada. You have to order it over the internet, but it's very cool and very just super boosting on that antioxidant side of things. And just to give you an idea of kind of when you're talking about the different colors and how they'll have different phytonutrients in them and kind of what some of those things help with. This is just a very short list, but just to give an idea, and some of the fruits and vegetables that fall under those colors. And whole grain should be on there too, maybe not. Got some beans. Yeah. Okay. One of the other phytochemicals I have today. So the first one, cellophane, really mostly concentrated in broccoli and cruciferous vegetables. Quercetin's kind of a much broader one. It's found in many, many vegetables in pretty decent doses. The next one, lignans, the highest source found in flaxseed. Does anybody here use flaxseed as part of their diet? Yeah. So good for you. Definitely, if you're going to grind it, you're going to get much more out of it. Your body isn't able to absorb those nutrients if you eat the seed as a whole seed. You could also sprout them, would be another option, by soaking them in hot water for even 10 minutes. Cold water for a few hours or overnight would give it a little bit of that opening up ability and absorbability so that your body can get some of those really great nutrients out of there. It's definitely falls under anti-cancer, anti-inflammatory. It's an antioxidant, helpful in balancing hormones, also full of fiber, also full of omega-3s, among other nutrients. It's wonderful. Sprouting the ground flaxseed, like I said, can be one of the best ways, or getting them ground. If you do buy them ground, I keep mine in the freezer, because then the oils can't go bad. The second that it's ground up, the oils will start to go bad, so you want to keep that in the freezer. It doesn't tend to freeze up like solid or anything. It's easy to scoop out and use and sprinkle on anything you're going to eat. Or if you buy the whole seed and put it in something like a smoothie where you're going to blend it up too, would be another way to get it pretty fresh. And if you're wanting more information on that too, Dr. Greger's a great source. He very much promotes lignans. So ergothioneine is my last one for today. So it's an amino acid, but also phytonutrient. The highest source you'll find is actually in mushrooms. And it's very cool. It's very It was found to be so beneficial to health, they almost classified it as a vitamin. But when we look at vitamins, vitamins are classified as a vitamin because if you don't get enough of them, it will cause a disease. Like when you think of not enough vitamin C and you get scurvy, that kind of thing. So that's what kind of classifies a vitamin. If you don't have enough of these, I'm sure you know people, or you yourself might not like mushrooms, and people don't die from not eating mushrooms. But people that eat even like 2 servings a week of mushrooms, it has been shown to have actively great health benefits over your life. So what's interesting is it tends to just be so good for so much, like less mortality rates overall, that it's too bad they don't have it as a vitamin. But because it doesn't specifically cause a disease, they don't have it. But I had to put it in here because it is so beneficial to health. So it grows, so mushrooms tend to make it, as well as other fungi and microorganisms in the soil. Other plants sometimes take up a little bit, absorb it from the soil, so they might have minimal amounts, but mushrooms will be at least 40% more higher dose in just them themselves. They tend to, so this ergothiamine, what happens with it is it tends to go in the body where it's most needed, where there's the most oxidative stress, where there's most free radicals. It tends to just linger there and help out with eyesight, with liver. It acts as a cell protector. It improves immune function, so the more mushrooms, and it tends to be, there are some that are higher than others, but they're overall, all mushrooms are pretty high. It tends to be just an immune function improver, like it just improves your overall, less likely to get colds, less likely to have any kind of illness. Or if you do get sick, it should be a lesser, like you should have, if you have a cold, it should be a quick cold, that kind of thing. Okay. I'll make sure I covered everything here. It is able to cross the blood-brain barrier, which is why it's so effective on brain health as well. I think cognitively, it just also improves cognitive health over time, and especially, again, only a few servings a week seems to be noticeable. If you had 1 serving a day, the studies show that it even heightens your protection even more. And that, you can find a lot of information about that as well with Dr. Geiger. He's very big on all science and all those types of things. So you'll see this sheet with your stuff, and this is just really meant to inspire you to figure out, like, I'd circle everything you already know you like and you already eat, and then I would just try to find something on there that you don't eat a lot of and try to add to your diet. Like, if you don't have a lot of flax seeds now, maybe that could be something that could come into your diet. I definitely don't have every vegetable, plant food out there, but I got the majority of the ones I could come up with here, and I feel free to add to it. Like, you eat something in the red category that I haven't listed there, write it in there. And then I encourage you to really go for more and more choices and have fun with the variety and getting all these phytonutrients from everything, because they just play such an important role. And the plant always works better as a whole plant versus a supplement, because it's using all the nutrients together. And they help each other out, like I said, with the bromine from the pineapple, working with the apple, and getting even more nutrients because they're together. So mixing and having the variety, so good for your gut health, so good for your overall health, and energy, and everything just works better when you're getting enough of everything.
This week, we are here with Jeff Braun, who is representing the Neepawa Area Planning District, which is an area that I know very little about, so we will have a lot to talk about. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to start right at the fundamentals, because, and eagle-eyed viewers will notice I have a list here, which I don't normally have, because I am a lifelong renter. I know very little about the planning district and what you guys do. So, what is a planning district? What do you do?
What is a planning district? So a planning district, so my office, we would regulate land use in both how land is used and the development of buildings, construction of buildings on those lands. So what a planning district is, so we are our own office, but we are made up of 3 partners, which being the town of Neepawa, the RM of Rosedale, and the municipality of Glenelg Lansdowne.
Okay.
So we do that land use, which is administering like the zoning bylaws their building bylaws, and the building codes, the permitting inspection for all the properties within those three municipalities.
And those are documents that are not just local to the municipality. You have provincial regulations. Do you have federal regulations as well?
Pretty well, it starts at the provincial level for
Yeah.
us. So yeah, we follow under. Basically, it starts with the Municipal Act, which gives the municipalities the power to create a planning district.
Yeah.
From there, it stems into, in my office personally, we're regulated under what's called the Planning Act. And the Planning Act gives us the authority on the bylaw creations. So it starts with the Municipal Act provincially, and then we jump into the Planning Act, and that's where we develop both bylaws for, the planning district. We have our own set of bylaws which govern our office and the operation of our office.
Okay.
Plus, we also govern the various bylaws that the town and planning or municipalities
Right.
under. So
Which, again, are not the same. You said you have 3 partners.
correct, yeah.
Are they very different? Are they a little bit different?
So it starts. So the planning district, the planning district has basically our first plan, and it's called a development plan.
Okay.
And what that is, it creates the broad guideline, an overview or a goal that the members want to see the district grow to. So it sets out its own maps. It has its own policies, and those maps and those policies give the individual town and the municipalities the ability to create the specific bylaws.
Okay.
So the development plan is more of a general overview, which gives the powers for the municipalities to create the specifics. So let's say when we talk zoning, when we talk a zoned residential, right?
Yeah.
The development plan, which is the planning district's bylaw, would say
Yeah.
residential. But then it would outline the policies that a residential requires. And then the town or the municipality would adopt not a residential, but it would be a specific, like a residential single dwelling zone.
Oh, I see. So that's
So
where
it-
those come from.
Correct. Yep. So and then of course both have to work together. So
Right.
a zoning bylaw can't change without the development plan being in line.
Okay.
So that's a lot of times confusing for people because it adds a lot of step, but it's
And
a step that we
the
have
development
to follow.
plan applies then just to your office and your area, or
Right. The development plan
Okay.
is the Neepawa Planning District's
Okay.
bylaw, but it is an overview of all the members.
and then across the province, every area will have its own planning district.
It is their option to be
Okay.
part of a planning district. So not all municipalities in the province are in a planning district.
Okay.
Some municipalities operate independently on their own, but they still have to follow the same guidelines in the acts that we
Right.
do. So they would create their own development plan for the municipality. They would have their own zoning bylaw.
Okay.
And I guess the benefit of a planning district is it takes costs off of the municipalities in town.
Yeah.
Because otherwise they would be hiring an individual like myself in each one.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously they would incur the full costs of that work. They would also get the permit costs. But I mean, in
Yeah.
our instance with our staff, we're pretty well self-run. So
Yeah.
we operate within our own budgeting requirements. So it depends how active the municipality is. They can take real benefit off of being part of a planning district
Yeah.
without having to employ that, right?